Hey there, I'm Barry Rapkin, and it is my pleasure to be speaking to you today about drones and drone mapping. Hope you're all doing well. I really appreciate you taking the time to learn more. Just to go through the agenda, we're going to talk about the basics that everyone should know about drones, how drones are benefiting your specific industry, going deep into earth moving, mass excavation, heavy contracting, and show you the guide on how to save time and money with drone mapping. We have a special limited time offer just for live attendees and take you through the audience Q&A. I'm Barry Rapkin. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer of Identified Technologies. And if you have any questions at any point in the webinar, please feel free to enter it in the question box, and I'll try to get them as they come, or at the worst, we'll have a dedicated Q&A section at the end. So just real quickly, for commercial drone basics, we've had remote control planes and helicopters for decades. So why is there this sudden interest in drone technology? Well, I don't know if you ever got to play with RC planes or helicopters when you were a kid, but this was the common user experience. Maybe you'd have a little fun with it for a few minutes, or if you're lucky, a few hours, but pretty quickly, a gust of wind is going to take it. They're made of paper, they're made of cardboard or balsa wood, and they're going to come crashing down. They can't endure wind or rain. They can't take any kind of weight or payload or equipment. So they're just a toy. They're not a reliable tool. So what changed? For RC planes and helicopters, and now we have this sudden massive interest today in drones for professional use. Well, it's really a combination of government and private sector innovation. NASA came out with high-quality flight controllers. GPS was originally pioneered by the U.S. Navy. You had massive systems that now, most of them have just built right into our smartphones. Miniaturized sensors like accelerometers, gyroscopes. We also have in smartphones, or if any of you have a Wii, you have in the wands, so you can play games. Digital cameras have gotten much higher resolution, much more energy efficient, and much smaller. A lot of you probably have GoPro cameras for when you go skiing or snowboarding, and that level camera was only possible in a device 10 times bigger just a few years ago. And all those combined with advances in battery life and model aircrafts are what make the modern drone that we know today possible. But it can be pretty tricky to actually find the right drone for you. People ask us every day, okay, I want a drone, which one do I get? But the truth is, there's no perfect drone for everybody. It depends what you're trying to achieve. It's like there's no perfect house for everybody. If you are a swinging single bachelor, you're a 22-year-old male fresh out of school, what you're going to want from your home is probably a lot different than a 45-year-old who's married and has 4 kids. And there's not a right or wrong. It's just getting the right match for your needs. If you are going to get a drone, you can spend anywhere from almost $100 million from a Global Hawk from Northrop Grumman, weigh about 32,000 pounds, and can fly for 28 hours straight. You can get that, or on the other end, you can get a DJI, like a Phantom Vision 2 for a little over $1,000. Takes nice pictures, can shoot a little bit of video, and if that's all you need, it'll be a perfect solution for you. So it's all about matching the right tool for what you're trying to achieve. So in terms of how drones are benefiting different industries, obviously the focus of today is primarily on earth moving. So we'll go deep into that, but I just want to give you a quick idea on how we're helping others too. For mining, drones make it easy to track your aggregate, your inventory, your stockpiles, to know exactly what you have on hand. That means that you're not having to have huge write-offs at the end of the year that throw your CFO and accounting team into a tizzy, and it also means that you're not having to kind of guess at how much inventory you actually have on hand and end up either committing product to customers that you don't have, or missing out on sales opportunities because you pad too much and don't get to sell what you actually do have sitting there. We'll go deep into construction and earth moving, so I'll hold off on that for now, but for oil and gas, it's great for tracking construction on well pads, pipelines, tracking right-of-ways to make sure that there aren't vehicles parked. All that, it just really speeds up the process. For agriculture, you can now see which crops are getting the water they need, the nutrients and fertilizer they need, the pesticides they need, and any areas that are not performing the way that you would hope, you can address them on a very targeted basis. For landfills, the struggle is to make sure that you're making the best use possible of the cell, not exceeding it where you're causing environmental problems, but not underfilling it where you're missing out on a potential opportunity. And drones make it very easy to see how much you have left, and instead of tracking once a quarter or once a month, you can track every day to get right up to the top. And then for mapping, surveying, engineering, drones basically let you do what you were doing before, just do more of it, do it faster, and exceed and increase your output without increasing your headcount. We've had cases where if maybe it would take a full month to track a 100-acre job site by hand, now you're able to collect that data in 10 minutes. So it's just speeding up that process and also avoiding exposing your team to risk. In terms of the big problem that we solve, it's really answering the question of why do most projects run late or over budget, and helping solve that for good. And that's not just me saying it. The biggest consulting firm there is, McKinsey, did a study recently. They said the construction industry is the world's second largest, just after agriculture. It's worth $8 trillion a year, but it's remarkably inefficient. The typical commercial construction project actually runs 80% over budget and 20 months behind schedule. About 3 trillion of that 8 trillion gets lost in a cascade of change orders, rework, and schedule slips. And again, that's not us, that's McKinsey directly. The reason is simple. Managers are expected to keep track of massive 100 to 200 acre job sites with rapidly changing contractors, equipment, and building projects. Sites are managed the same way today that they were 20 years ago, where construction is done off of rolled up paper blueprints, and it's hard to keep up with all the changes happening. Managers walk to the site with clipboards, taking notes and pictures, and all the stakeholders have to physically visit the job site to check the progress. And aerial overhead data has historically only been rarely captured due to the large costs and delays of it. And no matter how good you are, how experienced you are, how hardworking you are, it is fundamentally impossible to make fast, informed decisions without consistent site visibility. It's like I can be a great poker player, but if I can't see my cards and I can't see anyone else's cards, I can't play smart. That leads to inefficiency because expensive contractors and rental equipment often go unused due to bottlenecks that could have been prevented. It leads to project delays where you're waiting for customers to get out to the site to approve portions of work and release funds for the next section. It leads to low profits because when projects go over budget, it comes directly out of the construction company's profits. Customers who experience disappointments on their project may not use you again, may stop mid-project, or even file lawsuits. So why do they use drones? It gives job site visibility, that's accurate, it's automatic. You're not having to go work the joysticks on this thing. It's literally job site tracking at the push of a button. You turn it on, the drone takes itself off, flies the whole area in a lawnmower pattern, capturing all the data, comes back, lands itself. You scan the data up to the cloud where it's automatically processed in near real time, and you have your data available on the cloud. You can share it with your team, your stakeholders, serves as a permanent record for any questions or changes, and it's just a seamless end-to-end process. In terms of identified technologies, we use our fully managed drone solution to improve job site transparency and profitability. We're trusted by industrial leaders in energy, excavation, mining, and engineering. They use us because outdated methods are slow, inaccurate, dangerous, and costly. They use our integrated end-to-end job site production tracking and optimization technology, and we're proudly headquartered in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, with clients around the world. We serve companies like Carmuse, Casella Resource Solutions, EQT, Kokosing, PJ Dick, and Vulcan, and we've recently been featured by publications such as Built World, Construction Business Owner, Construction Dive, Construction Executive. We were at the ConExpo at the Tech Experience. We might have seen you there, and we were featured by ENR. A lot of people tend to really underestimate what drones can do. They maybe think of a cheap drone for $1,000, or think of where drone technology was 5 years ago. But they can go way beyond just photos. You can actually automate advanced mapping and tracking. So that means you can do orthomosaic overlays and 3D volumetric analysis to know exactly either how large your stockpiles are or how much earth has been moved. We have a new piece of hardware and software called Truck IQ, and we'll go deeper into that, but it actually lets you track the output of your excavation team down to the individual, seeing what their cycle time is, what their load time is, how productive they're being, where there's bottlenecks in it. It even lets you see what your real profitability is per yard of earth moved. So you know what you're charging, you know what you're paying. You can actually get down to that level. You can do contour mapping. You can do as-built versus as-planned blueprint overlays. So you're going to contrast the initial drawings with the actual job site and make sure everything is lining up. And in terms of how we're different than alternatives, why people use drone mapping, well, historically people have used aerial surveys for decades. It does give you aerial data. The problem is you are paying through the nose for it. It can be easily 15 or 20 grand per flight. Takes a few weeks to book it. When they finally come out, the data is quickly gathered, but then usually another few weeks to process that data. You're easily looking at 2 to 3 months from the time you book the flight till you get your data. And the problem is, on a fast-moving, productive job site, 3-month-old data is wrong, because by the time you get that data back, the job site's changed. The data is no longer accurate. So it's like trying to drive a car if you don't look through the rearview mirror. You see what's behind you, but you don't know what's ahead of you. For a manned survey team, they're usually much faster to book and come out to the job site, but it takes a lot longer to gather the data because they're actually marching around by hand, getting all the points. And then it still has to be processed once they get it. So again, you're looking at probably 2 months. And by the time you have that data, it's no longer accurate. So people choose a commercial drone solution that's fully managed and end-to-end, because instead of getting your data maybe once a quarter, once a month, you can update as much as you want. It can be once a week, once a day, hourly, whatever you need. The updates are unlimited with one low-cost monthly subscription. And instead of taking months or weeks to book it, anytime you want to fly, you turn on the drone, it takes off and gathers your data. So it's instant, it's on demand. The data gathering time for a 100-acre job site is about 9 to 10 minutes. And then depending on the exact job site, you're looking at something like 6 hours to process that data. So if you fly that morning, you're looking at the final results before you leave the office that day. And that's a level of real-time feedback and that can enable much smarter decision-making that has never been possible before. It's never been cost-effective or realistic before this automation technology existed. And you would have cases where people were building things in the wrong place or the wrong way, and it wasn't being diagnosed for months after the fact. And by then, with all the resources that had been invested and all the time, it was hard to make up. So now you can catch things before it's too late. There is, of course, another option. You got to get your data somehow, but you can do manual surveys, standard aerial surveys, use a fully managed drone solution, or you can DIY it and build it in-house. If you're going to do that, there's a few steps that you're going to need for any drone solution. You have to make sure you're following all the FAA regulations, get your Part 107, make sure you have all your waivers and are following all the right rules. You need to find and train and pay your drone pilots. You'll need a system with software, hardware, processing, storage, management, and a team to maintain that and run it. You'll need to take on the risk and insurance of the drone itself and of operations. So even if no one's injured, might be 50 grand if there's a crash. And the normal drone mapping process is you'll get a KML with the map perimeter. KML is basically like a Google map showing you what's there. You'll lay the ground control points. You'll create and upload your flight plan, fly the drone, you'll geotag the data, transfer the data, process the data at your processing center, and then from there you store and manage the data, and you can finally analyze it and collaborate with your team. At Identified, we've tried to take out every possible step to make it as smooth and streamlined as possible. So with us, you select your flight plan on a provided tablet, you activate the drone from the tablet, so job site tracking at the push of a button, the data is automatically processed, and you can access and analyze your job site. So we just want to get you from wanting to know how the job's progressing to actually seeing that data as quickly as possible and as painlessly as possible. So thank you for putting up with the background on kind of what problems we're solving. Now I want to go deep into how earth movers, mass excavation, heavy civil specifically, are saving time and money with drone mapping. So first off, what is earthwork? Earthwork is created through the movement of parts of the Earth's surface. It can be quantities of soil or unformed rock, and it can include land grading to reconfigure a job site's topography or to stabilize slopes. An earthwork cost is really a function of the hauled amount of soil times the hauled distance. So the goal of mass haul planning is to determine these amounts and minimize and optimize them. So you're being as efficient as possible. You're not moving large weights further than you have to, using up your employees' time and gas and equipment. Now, you do this by having a really good knowledge of what your cuts and your fills are. There's several ways to estimate cut and fills. That can be the cross-section method or the grid method. And factors in choosing the best method include project complexity, accuracy level required, and how fast the data is needed. But generally, the cut is the earth that you're trying to remove to get to your goal, and the fill is the area that you're trying to fill up. So you're going to move your cuts and bring them over to your fills to get that nice level grade that you're after. What makes this even more difficult, though, is soil swell, also called fluffing. It's, hey, this earth, maybe when it's packed down in the soil, it only takes up, let's say, 100,000 cubic yards of earth. But once it's unpacked, once it's not as densely packed down and we've loosened it and put it in the truck, now it's actually 120,000 cubic yards of earth. So that makes it difficult because when you as an excavator agree to move the earth out of the ground, the earth is actually taking up a different amount in your truck bed than it did in the ground. And it can be really hard to know how far you've progressed, even if you're tracking the trucks. Plus, there's just normal variability. You know, one load will be a little bit bigger than the other. We've seen a lot of cases where the customer and the excavator were upset with each other because they were using slightly different units. One was talking about cubic yards in the truck, and the other was talking about cubic yards in the ground. So soil swell can really throw things off. And then you have the cost of machinery, where there's earth-moving machines, scrapers, bulldozers, loaders, backhoes, dragline excavators, and each one of these can cost, obviously, thousands of dollars every day of operation. So where drones come in is they're able to access very quickly and track very large areas. Stuff that traditionally you can only get from a helicopter or a fixed wing, but now you can do it quickly, affordably, accurately, and efficiently. Drones fly a set flight plan, so it's going to be that lawnmower pattern I was talking about, where you show them the area that you want them to cover, and they'll automatically break it up, flying it as quickly and efficiently as possible. And they can do things like 3D volumetric analysis, scanning 2D and 3D precision maps with volumetric analysis in real time. So your georeferenced high definition images actually turn into a 3D model that's interactive and show you exactly how many, let's say, cubic yard or cubic feet of earth you have to work with. We have a few specialized tools that make that even easier. We've change detection technology that lets you see where you were last month, last week, and compare that with where you are today, and actually highlight the areas of change, so you know exactly what earth has moved where and how much. It makes it really easy to do progress reports and cut and fill tracking. You can securely share that data too, so you're not locked in with us if you want to move it or do any post-processing. We also do progressions, so you can say, all right, well, my goal is to move 100,000 cubic yards of earth. So I'm going to see each week, each month, how that's progressing, how I'm working towards that goal, and make sure that you're on track. If it looks like you're going to miss your deadline, this gives you some visibility in that, and you can start to kind of bring in more equipment, work longer hours, whatever it takes to make sure that you actually do finish on time before it's too late. And differences of opinions of historically between surveyors and excavators and general contractors have really come up about the amount of dirt moved. For some of the reasons we described, I mean, a lot of different moving parts here, shared between a lot of different teams, and even if you're tracking the trucks, that doesn't really tell you how things are progressing in the ground. We've had cases where people are celebrating how well a job's going, popping champagne with their leadership, and then it ends up that if they're lucky, the job breaks even, and they don't break any profit at all. So it's just knowing how much progress they're really making and charging appropriately and getting paid appropriately. We have some new software that we're beta testing right now and we'll have out fully available for Q3. It's called Truck IQ. And I touched on this before, but not only will it get your cycle time and load time for each individual truck, but it lets you see how much earth is being moved, what your costs are, and what your actual cost per yard is. That's helpful not just to know your real profitability and your billing, but also to do better bidding and quotes for the future. So when you get a similar job to this, you know exactly what to bid, to make sure that you're not taking work that's going to end up being unprofitable, but also that you can put in a bid that you can be pretty confident will win without padding it 20, 30, 40% just because you don't know what your real costs are. When we've shown this to people, they say this is the holy grail of earth moving, to actually know the real cost per yard. So that's powerful. And you can, again, break this down by vehicle, by trucks, to really get visibility, even to an individual contractor to see, wow, well, this guy was supposed to be working, but he was just taking a long smoke break and wasting everyone's time. Or that, hey, you have 5 dump trucks filling up and they're spending 50% of their time idling, just waiting for the next one to move. Maybe we need to get some more equipment down there to make better use of everyone's time. So just giving you that insight. This means you don't have to count trucks, you don't overpay for earth swelling or underpay, and you can make those informed, profitable bids with a library of past work. If this does sound interesting to you, I'll just talk you through the onboarding process. You need to get your Part 107 to operate a drone commercially. That's something that we'll walk you through. We have a 100% success rate. Everyone's passed on their first try with our training. What that does, it maximizes your safe drone operations, maximize your test scores and your confidence, and it means you don't have to waste a ton of time trying to train and get ready for the test, that you won't make operational mistakes, and that you don't get some nasty surprises and fail the exam. We do an initial conversation with you where we get to understand your business, your goals, what you're trying to achieve in an organization, what your success metrics are, and then we'll build out a personalized roadmap and customize your onboarding process to ensure that you can meet those goals, that you're trained for the technology, and that you know the right software to do what you're trying to do. We'll get you and any users set up to speed so you're ready to receive your data, and you have a personal customer success manager that's dedicated just to making sure that you have a good experience and get everything you need out of it. One thing that's unique about us is instead of just buying up front and then kind of being locked in with us, it's just an ongoing recurring fee. So if you're not happy 2 months in, you leave. And we're here to make sure that you are happy, that you are consistently getting value, that you are having a great experience with us, because that's how we keep our long-term customers. We have training and education available, not just webinars, but training guides, best practices, workshops, screen shares, to make sure that you don't fall behind. And you'll always have training and education from us. That includes our VP of Aviation on call, who has over 2 decades of flight and training experience. And full support. If if you need any troubleshooting, any software enhancements. That includes things like if your drone just doesn't work one day, well, we're going to express ship you a brand new one because we don't want to hold up your work and your business just because our product isn't working. Whereas with most drones, you ship it back to them, they work on it for 6 weeks, and eventually, hopefully, you get your drone back and can work. But we don't want to hold up your business. You also have access to our full support site, which has complete step-by-step documentation from everything from 107 training and practice quizzes to SiteIQ, which is our main software, and our drone. And even after you're trained and up to speed, your client success manager will create and deliver quarterly check-ins to review the results against your success criteria to make sure that we're delivering the most value to your business, that you're having a good experience. And so we can share any new developments that have been made in our software that our dedicated team is working on. Make sure that you get a new drone if you're up for one. We want to avoid obsolescence in any of our users, so every year we're issuing a brand new cutting-edge drone to them and continually rolling out updates. And we also meet with you so we can learn, hey, if there's some new feature that would really make your job easier, we want to make sure it's built in. So that's something that we're constantly rolling out. So what's the real value of drone mapping? It can help you win more bids and make them more profitable. We can help you track and increase your profitability. We can improve your quality assurance and make sure things are done the way that they were planned, and increase and improve your client satisfaction and retention. We got a nice quote from Phil Schumacher, the Vice President of Operations at Bentley. He said, "This is a tremendous marketing tool for us. We work for some big companies where the VP doesn't get out to the site very often, and the ability to show potential clients before and after 3D graphics of our work gives them more confidence than describing it on a conference call ever could. Now, we're not just asking them to take our word for it, we're bringing the real project right to them." So that's the power that drone mapping gives. So with that, I want to thank you all very, very much for your time.